Sup? Done. I don't really mess with my neighbors like that.
This is a story about my strange experiences with an old neighbor. It all started about 5 years ago.
Wait a minute. You said old neighbor, like old neighbor, like in the sense that, like, you know, they y'all used to be neighbors, or old, like in age old, because those are two separate things. I need details. Hold on.
I moved into a standard house in what I thought was a really nice neighborhood, and it was for the most part. Everybody that I met around my street was really nice, but my next door neighbor to the west, I never met. From the time I moved in, I would rarely see anybody outside on his property, and things around the yard were really simple. Still, I knew that somebody lived there because there was always a car in the driveway. But overall, I didn't really pay a whole lot of attention to what my neighbors were doing. One day, though, I was outside getting my mail. After I got the mail from the mailbox and was starting to walk back up the driveway, I noticed my next door neighbor. He was standing at one of his front windows of his house and was just staring at me. He appeared to be looking right at me, almost glaring. It was really awkward, and I looked away and to the letters of mail that I had in my hands. But after traveling a few steps up my driveway, I had to look again. He was still looking at me, and he almost looked angry. I smiled and waved at him. I kind of expected him to at least wave back a little, but he just kept staring at me as I walked all the way to my house.
That is such a cluck-ass thing to do. Like, just think about it. Like, you ever been in that situation? Somebody looking dead at you. Not on the right, not on the left, not behind you. They're looking dead at you. They're not staring off in the distance, and you just so happen to be in their view. They looking dead at you. Y'all locking eyes. Right? On some lover type shit. You go waving. And they looking at you. I got this oil ready to go.
That was a really strange first interaction with my next door neighbor, I thought. It had already been about 6 months since I moved in, and this is the first time that I had seen him. I thought that the guy must just be really unfriendly, or he was just weird, or maybe he disliked me for some reason, although I had no idea why he would dislike me. It's not like I played loud music or had parties at my house. I couldn't think of any reason why. It didn't really bother me too much though. Sometimes people are unfriendly. What are you gonna do? Probably about a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks went by since I had first seen my neighbor before I saw him again. The next time I saw him was when I was getting home one night. It was like 10 p.m. and dark out. I saw my neighbor standing at his window again, staring at me, just like the previous time. I saw him as I got out of my car, and then I didn't look at him again until I was at my front door. When I looked back, he was still staring at me. That was only the second time that I noticed him, but he sure seemed strange to me. After going inside, I went to bed maybe an hour later. I woke up in the middle of the night though. I just remember that when I woke up, I was really thirsty, and it was almost 4 a.m. Occasionally, I wake up in the night really dehydrated, and then I just drink some water and go back to sleep. This night, I didn't have any water in my bedroom, so I got up to go to the kitchen. When I was on my way there, I passed by the living room window. My neighbor was standing in my front yard, staring right into my window.
Oh my God.
It was the same stare that he always had, and he was maybe 10 feet away from the window. I will never forget the feeling of shock that I had when I saw him. It was terrifying. I ran out of sight of the window. When I got to my kitchen, I remember that I was pacing around wondering what on earth my neighbor was doing. After a couple of minutes, I felt better. I got some water and decided to go back and see if my neighbor was still there. When I returned, he was gone. I walked around every window of my house looking outside, but I didn't see my neighbor at all anymore. After that, I went back to sleep, although it took me a while. The next day, I was still thinking about it and decided that I was going to go over and talk to my neighbor.
Because you're doing too much. You're doing too much, player. What's your name? What's your name? Alex? You're doing too much, Alex. Relax, Alex. Relax. It's already bad enough that y'all locking eyes on some lover type shit. It's already bad. It's like y'all clucking each other. just eyes. You doing too much. Now you about to go over there and talk to him? Alex, you treading on thin ice with me right now. Relax, man. Because every time this story goes on, I'm liking you more and less and less.
I really didn't want to, but at the same time, I felt that I should. When I walked into his front yard, he was not looking out of the window or staring at me. I knocked on his door, and he didn't answer at first. The car was in his driveway, though, so I knew that he was home. I stayed on the front step and rang the doorbell this time. Finally, the door opened. I saw my neighbor, the same guy who had been looking into my window the previous night. I smiled and offered out my hand for him to shake, and I introduced myself. He didn't shake my hand, though, and just asked me what I wanted.
What? Okay. You ever shake somebody's hand and it's wet? Like, especially when they come out the bathroom. Like, you want to hope and pray that it's just water. Like, they didn't dry their hands all the way. And that they use soap. Whether it's your friend, your partner, co-worker, family member, neighbor, to touch somebody's hand and it's wet, regardless if you know them or not, that's I don't know what that was. I thought something that.
I told him that I thought I saw him in my front yard the previous night, and I was wondering what he was doing. He denied it, cursed at me, and then slammed the door in my face.
Wow.
I walked back to my house. I only saw him one other time. About a month after this took place, I saw a moving truck in his driveway and moving guys loading up some furniture. I saw my neighbor with them as well, and I gathered that he was moving. I can't say that I miss him at all, but I'm still left with questions about what he was doing. I also wonder if that's the only time he stared into my windows.
Nah, it's not. It's not. Somebody that stares in your windows, or that stares at you, and you catch them staring at you, I guarantee you, 100%, it's not the first time they stared at you. Especially if you catch them staring at you, no matter who it is. They stared at you before, you just now catching them.
My name is Denise, and I used to live in an older apartment close to the city. I lived in it for 1 year total. Over my time living there, I got to know a couple of my neighbors, but not many. I would see some people around the building or in the hallways, but most of them I never had any conversations with or anything. After I'd been living there for almost a year, something odd happened. It was really late at night on a Friday. I was staying up late watching a movie, and I was by myself. All of my lights were off, and I was eating popcorn, when suddenly I heard that somebody was trying to enter my apartment.
God damn.
The front doorknob was rattling, and it startled me. I paused the movie and listened close. The doorknob turned several times. I kind of expected somebody to knock, but they didn't. Whoever was there tried opening the door again. I got up as quietly as I could and tiptoed over to my front door. It wasn't that far away, and when I looked out the peephole, I saw a guy standing right outside. He appeared to be looking closely to my doorknob or lock area, so I couldn't see his face at first. As I leaned my face against the door moved a little bit. When it did, the guy at my door backed up and I saw his face. It was one of my neighbors. I didn't know his name, and we had said hi to each other a couple of times in the hallway, maybe once or twice. I knew that he lived on my floor and across the hall, about 4 doors down. After he backed up, I saw him walk away back towards his place.
Wow.
I was kind of creeped out. Why was he trying to get into my apartment? I stayed up for a while and looked outside my door a few more times. I never saw him again, though. I was finally able to go to sleep at like 3 a.m. The next morning, I woke up at about 9. When I left my bedroom, I thought I heard something at my front door again. I don't know if I was just paranoid now, but I walked over and looked out of it once again. The same guy was there, my neighbor. He then tried opening the door again. When it didn't open, I saw him just turn around and walk away. I did my best to make sense of this, but I had no idea what he was doing. A couple of days went by. I was leaving to go to work and happened to see my neighbor walking in my direction like we were going to...
First of all, the whole complex is clucked and in cahoots and sus hoops. I just want to let you know that first and foremost. Right. Second, you should have had a shotgun ready or some sort of weapon ready. Preferably, can never say that word, right? A shotgun. You should have had your door unlocked. You should have sat in a chair or just be ready on the other side of that door, ready. You should just pull it. So, Jesus. And how do you go to sleep at night knowing somebody's trying to get in? I can't go to sleep like that.
Paths down the hallway. I wanted to turn around and go back to my place, but I decided not to. When we made it within about 10 feet of each other, we made eye contact. That's when he said hi to me and told me how he had gone to my door the other night. He said that he didn't know if he woke me up or not, but he had accidentally tried to enter my apartment, and he apologized. He told me that he had gotten back home from the bars with friends and was a little drunk. I told him it was all right, and I understood, and then we went our separate ways.
Okay.
But I didn't understand. At first, it all made perfect sense to me, and I felt relieved. But after I thought more about it, I realized that he didn't really seem drunk when he was messing around with my door. And the way that he was messing with it, it was like he was trying to break in, not like he thought that he lived there. And even if he was just drunk, why did he come back and try to get in again the next morning? I don't think that he would still be drunk and wander back to my apartment at 9 a.m. I tried to just tell myself that I was making more of it, and he was telling me the truth. A few more days went by. It was late at night again, and this time I was in my bedroom on my phone. The time was probably about 11 o'clock, and there was a knocking at my door. It was kind of quiet, but I heard it. I got up, walked over to the door, and looked outside. The same guy was back. As I was looking out the peephole, he knocked again. When he knocked, I accidentally bumped the door forward again with my head. Like I said, my place was kind of old, and the door would rattle in the hinges really easily if you touched it. When the door moved slightly, the guy quickly ducked around the corner. Everybody's doorway went in a little, so if you hit around the corner right in front of it, you could not be seen. I'm not sure what he was doing, but I didn't like it at all. I kept watching, and after about 30 seconds or so, he moved back into view and knocked again. I kept still and did not move. He knocked once more and then finally left. I don't know what he wanted, but I just had a bad feeling about it. Less than a month later, I moved out of that apartment, and I'm glad that I did.
But the whole time, he probably saw you move from a distance and probably followed you home to your new home from a distance. Ashley, I just want to say, just protect yourself, please.
Last year, I lived in Oregon for the year.
Oregon?
I don't live there anymore because I changed companies. I moved into a house about 20 minutes outside of Portland. The area was pretty nice and I enjoyed it. But just my third night living there, somebody tried breaking into my house.
Where are all of the curtains or blinds? Oh, are they outside? No. I will say they're outside. Okay, I see some outside. But I'm just like, what the hell?
I was setting up a TV stand in my bedroom when I heard some noises coming from the other side of the house. I started to walk over, wondering what it was. I made my way out of my bedroom through the hallway and near the dining room. When I was walking over to the dining room, I heard the back door open. I was not expecting that. I backed up a few steps, and I briefly heard footsteps in my house, and then they turned around and left, and I heard the door open and close again. I went over to my side window and looked outside. I saw a man walking away at a pretty fast speed, but as he was walking away, I got a really good look at his face. He was about average height and had dark brown, kind of messy hair. I went over to my back door and locked it. I'm not really sure how the guy got in, but next I called the police. They came out to my house, but the man was long gone by then. I gave a description and all the information that I could, but it really wasn't much to go on. I was hoping that the police would be able to find whoever had done it, but after they left, I didn't feel too confident. I just didn't really feel like I gave them enough information, and the man would probably be long gone by now. I was a little bit concerned that whoever the guy was would be back. A few days later, I was outside doing some yard work. I was pretty close to the street, and I noticed somebody was walking down it in my direction. Beyond that, I didn't pay much attention because I was focused on what I was doing. When the man walking down the street reached me, he did not walk past, but he stopped where I was and said hi. I turned around and saw the guy. It was the same man who had broken into my house. He was smiling now and asked me if I had just moved in here. I tried to act normal, and I said yes. He was really friendly and said that he lived just down the street. We talked for maybe a minute, but I wasn't able to keep the conversation going very well for obvious reasons. I'm not sure if he picked up on it or not that I had seen him. I really don't think that he thought I had seen him at all. Why would he go over to me if he did? After we talked, he walked away. I went back to the police after that and told them the information.
So that's a two-faced motherfucker. You know? That's like one of your people's messing around with your partner, and you notice, but when you meet up in person, they act all cool, like, hey, how you doing? No, Igor, you messing around with my partner. Wearing my Adidas shoes. You know, I'm fine with you messing around with my partner, but when you put on my Adidas, I just can't get behind that. I can't get past that. I'm gonna cluck you up. I'm dead ass.
Out that the guy did in fact live on my street, but he denied it, and the police had no solid evidence, so I couldn't really do anything. I did install a security camera at my front and back doors. However, nothing else strange happened. I don't live there anymore, and I'm glad that I don't have to live near that guy. I still wonder why he was trying to break into my house, though.
Shut up for asking that question. Shut up. Shut your ass up. If you all have like any horror stories or like any like weird cluck shit that happened with your neighbors, please let me know that in the comment section below. Yeah, because right now, you know, not right now. I've never really messed with any of my neighbors. If any neighborhoods that I've ever lived in. You know, it's a scary ass world out here, and I don't got time for the bullshit. I don't got time for the bullshit. I don't got time for the cluck shit. I don't got time for any of that. So, just let me, yeah. Sorry. Like, my neighbors could be real nice, genuine people. But at the same time, they could have like 10 bodies in the attic. You know? Like, Jesus. Keep it cool, keep it classy. And I love you. Stay happy, my family.